Hey everyone, so I am going to be talking about how to develop professional skills that you need as a model today. And I switched up my background just a little bit since I'm filming two today. But this is all going to be all about the professional skills that you need as a model and some tips and tricks on how to develop those and some ways you can develop them, what they mean, everything like that, how you can practice these skills in everyday life and things like that. And then at the end, I have a fun scenario about a photo shoot that one is less professional and one is more professional, and the differences in how you can see how little things just add up and can really cost you a job. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's break it down. I broke it down into 6 categories. 1, communication. 2, organization. 3 is poise. 4 is networking. 5 is marketing. And 6 is preparation. So these are the 6 things that, or the 6 skills that I feel are probably the most important as, when we talk about professional skills that are needed in the modeling industry. And as a model, you need to have good communication, you need to have good organization, you need to have poise in every scenario and know how and what that means. You need to be able to network with people, you need to be able to market yourself, and you need to be prepared. So let's break these down even further and go one by one on what these mean. So let's start with communication. So communication is extremely important, and being confident and comfortable communicating in front of people of all ages, of any group, any profession, is anything of that nature is super important, because in modeling you have to do that every single day. So even if you may feel comfortable talking to your class, but you may not feel comfortable talking to a group of older people, or you may not feel comfortable talking to your peers, or you may not feel comfortable just talking in general or to a large crowd or a small crowd, whatever it is, you need to be able to be comfortable in any of those situations and develop those. I think that this is one of the harder categories to kind of nail down. It's something that I've myself come a long way in. You guys know that I speak in front of a camera. It's not the easiest thing to do. I trip over my words, I stumble, I mess up, I have run-on sentences, but all of that is okay because I feel confident and I present myself in a confident manner, and I try to present myself in a professional manner, so that way those little things don't matter as much, because I'm still speaking with a purpose and everything like that. So, but I used to not be like that. So here's some recommendations and ways that you can develop your communication skills. So number one of my biggest pieces of advice would be to take a public speaking class. Now, I took a public speaking class in college, but you can also take an online course or watch a YouTube video or anything like that. And I'm not sure, maybe high schools have these classes nowadays, but definitely look into public speaking or practice public speaking. This helped me immensely. I would have never taken a public speaking class, but it was required for my major, and I ended up really enjoying it. It was difficult at first, but it really, really helped me. And I never thought I would have or need public speaking training. However, I moved to Arizona a few years later, and I became a Jeep tour guide and a manager of the Jeep tour company. And I would go every single week to this one timeshare and present our business and offer and just talk about our tours and everything like that. And I had to do it every week in front of a group of 30 people. They were all older than me because, they can afford a timeshare. And I was really nervous at first. I hated doing it, but after a while it just became super easy, and I really owe it to my public speaking class to help me get through that. I also recommend taking an online course on developing your communication skills, or an online course about public speaking. You can find these on YouTube, on Skillshare, any platform like that. I know Coursera probably has some. Practice talking in front of the camera. So whether that be on Instagram, whether that be making YouTube videos, or whether it just be practicing, like doing a fake interview or anything in front of the camera, this is going to really help you help with confidence and not being able to go back in time and edit or anything like that. Just being authentically yourself and recovering when you mess up in a sentence or you say or you stumble over your words and you just keep going. That is something that I've learned that really helps me in my communication skills, and I highly suggest that. Practice and researching active listening. Part of being a good communicator is also practicing active listening in conversations. So making sure that you are listening to the other person you're talking to and giving them your full undivided attention and being a good team player in that. And it goes both ways, if that makes sense. Develop your vocabulary. So whether that be researching or watching trainings on how to develop your vocabulary and using bigger words and words with more meaning and more words that have purpose and things like that can help you talk in a professional manner. Develop comfort when communicating with photographers. This is a great way in practicing your communication skills in everyday life as a model, at least, is trying to feel more comfortable communicating with photographers because you work with them more often, and having direct communication with them and being confident and comfortable in that, whether that be online or in person. Learning a new language can actually help your communication skills as well. It could not only help you because you're learning a new language and you can communicate with more people, but also learning a new language also helps your native language as well, because you start breaking down vocabulary and grammar word by word. So you're paying more attention to how you structure sentences and how you pick and choose words and everything like that. And then lastly is to practice speaking up for yourself in times of conflict. This is something that I think most people struggle with. And if you don't, then you are blessed, and that's a great, strong skill to have. But that is something that you can practice in everyday life, is speaking up for yourself in times of conflict, whether this be something very small or very big, such as if you get the wrong plate at a restaurant, practice speaking up and practice that communication skill, even though it might feel awkward and it might feel uncomfortable, practice that conversation, and it will help you in the long run with communication. And this last little note just says that developing your communication skills should also encompass online and over the phone communication. So it's not just face-to-face communication, but emails, texting, DMing, calling over the phone, anything like that. Okay, next up is organization. So organization is something very important to have as a model, and there's a lot of different ways that you can organize your life and organize your schedule or organize your modeling stuff. And so I just have a few kind of bullet points on this one, not as many suggestions, but a few in there. So number one is just kind of an explanation. Being organized as a model is the key to making it through your chaotic work schedules, constantly being on the go, and stressful situations. The more organized you are and the more prepared you are, the better and more confident you will feel. Being punctual to photo shoots and appointments in everyday life too is the first step that you can take to being an organized model. So just starting with being punctual, whether that be showing up to class on time, showing up to your photo shoot on time, showing up to your job on time, showing up to coffee with a friend on time. That is the first step you can take in getting organized, because you have to have a thought process that thinks ahead of time in order to be on time. And being punctual is extremely important as well in the modeling industry. Let's see, purchase a weekly organizer or planner to keep track of your modeling activities and or appointments or just your everyday life, and get used to planning those things out and being organized and writing them down and keeping a list that's not fogging up your brain in here. Let's see. Organization will help bring confidence and comfort when trying new things. That's just a kind of little tidbit that I thought I'd include on why organization is so important, because it does bring you a sense of confidence and comfort when you are trying something new, because you've already thought through some of these scenarios and you've already prepared yourself for some of these scenarios, so you know exactly what to do and you already have the tools in your toolkit to handle it. And lastly, planning ahead is one of the single most important things that models can do to further their professional skills. Being organized and planning ahead, like I said, is one of the most important things that models can do, because it just levels you up in every area of your career. It levels you up in your personal life. It levels you up on your resume. It levels you up in your confidence. It levels you up in your networking, everything like that, because you've already planned ahead. You've already thought through these scenarios. You've already worked through how you're going to resolve these scenarios, and you're ready. You're ready for anything, and you're ready to tackle the world. So developing organization, an organization that's right for you and works for your everyday life, is super important. Okay, let's talk about developing poise. Now, poise isn't something that I can just teach you overnight. It's not like our first slide of communication where I can kind of give some examples on how to develop it. So what I went ahead and did is just kind of list some definitions of how you can have poise, and how you can develop them, and what someone with poise, or another word is grace, acts like in these situations. So you can start to apply these different methods of thinking in your everyday life, if that makes sense. So someone with poise remains calm and graceful in stressful situations. So when something's thrown their way, they don't have a meltdown, they don't freak out, they remain calm and graceful. They perform and react well under pressure. So they're not reacting to a situation with emotions, they're thinking and working through things and remaining calm in the process, even though they're under pressure and they need to think of a decision quickly, something like that. Making quick decisions to better your career. Sometimes you're going to face scenarios where you have to make a quick decision, and it can impact your career, it can impact your life, it could impact your personal life, and someone with poise is able to do so and make those quick decisions with a calm, level head, without and in order to better their career, if that makes sense, without, once again, reacting with emotions. A person with poise is a team player and is someone that everyone wants to work with. So make sure that when you are working with people, you are someone that you would want to be around, and that you can be a team player to everyone on the crew. Someone with poise sets professional boundaries. They have grace and confidence, and they've developed a love for themselves. They have self-love, right? And lastly, they have a good attitude and positive outlook. So developing poise, those things are things you can practice, when you're in a stressful situation, to remain calm and graceful, to be a team player, to be someone that everyone wants to work with, to develop self-love, having a good attitude and staying positive. Things like that are all things you can do to develop poise, but it's more of a personal journey in developing poise. But models do need to have a certain level of poise and be able to remain calm and graceful. Okay, let's talk about networking. So networking is one of the most important skills to develop in the fashion industry, as this industry is built on who you know and who you can work with. Absolutely. Who you know is going to get you far, and being that type of person that people want to know will also get you far. So here's a few ways that you can work on your networking in everyday life and also in the modeling industry, etc. So start building connections in everyday life. Talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to people in real life, and start conversations with people and ask them about things, and just be inquisitive and be open to different walks of life is super important, and that's a really great place to start. Review your already established connections and make sure to reconnect with them. Make sure you're maintaining the connections and relationships that you already have. So if you already know another model, make sure that you're checking in on them and talking with them and connecting with them, so that way you don't lose that connection, and you can have that connection in the future as well. So having a professional demeanor when establishing new connections is important as well. People take you a lot more seriously, and it just helps, I've noticed in everyday life even, to just have a more professional demeanor and really think and be smart with what you say and how you act around people before you get to know them, so that way you can maintain a whatever kind of relationship you want with that person, if that makes sense. So practice having a professional demeanor when you can. Maintaining a good reputation within the community. This is very important in the modeling industry and also important in everyday life, depending on what you want to do. Maintaining a good reputation within the community means, not bullying people, not talking bad about people behind their back, having and maintaining good relationships with workplaces that you've left, maintaining relationships with people that you've worked with, or any kind of company or anything that's associated with you, is having a good reputation with them and not making enemies, if that makes sense, or too many enemies. Everyone has at least one, and that's okay. But trying to maintain a good reputation will really help with your networking. Another thing that's really great for networking is getting involved in your community. So whether this be starting a new activity or trying something new or volunteering, anything like that is really going to open you up and help your network and help make those connections that you need. Socially engage with industry professionals on a daily basis. So this means going on Instagram and following industry professionals, commenting on their pictures, liking, swiping up on their stories, not in a fangirling way, but maintaining engagement with people in the industry is great, because whether you know it or not, people realize and people start to put together, oh, this person really supports me. This person always likes and comments on my pictures. This person is always supportive. This person's always sharing my stuff, even though I've never met them. Next time I hear about an opportunity in this area, I'm going to think of them because they're constantly in my stuff. So not in a way that's going to annoy or disrupt people's socials, but I'm trying to maintain a socially active engagement on social media with industry professionals is a great way to network as well. Make sure you're not afraid to reach out to someone new. So whether you want to message a brand or message a fashion designer or just message another model on Instagram, don't be afraid to do that. It's not weird. Don't be afraid to comment on someone's page, even though you've never met them. It's not weird. You're engaging with their profile, and that's great. And also the last thing I want to say is provide opportunities for networking if and when possible. So if you want to network more, go to events where you can network, or host an event where people can network. It's a really great way to get your, get involved and make sure that those networking opportunities are there for you. It's really important to think about opportunities and events as networking opportunities. So if you're going to play even, think about arriving 10 minutes early to talk to the crew or talk to people who are arriving or anything like that. That's just an example. Make sure you're providing opportunities for yourself to network. If you're staying at home all the time, not even engaging on new people's social media, how are you ever going to build your network? The more engaged you are in networking, the more rewards you will benefit from. Okay, next one is marketing and digital footprints. So marketing is really important because you need to have the ability to market yourself as a professional model. Modeling requires a lot of self-marketing and self-discovery and self-promotion. So you need to have good interview techniques. You need to have a professional portfolio, and you need to have a professional resume. You need to be able to put yourself out there on social media. You need to be able to put yourself out there in real life. If you go to a casting, you need to be able to stick out. And how are you going to do so? By marketing yourself, right? And the other part of this is a digital footprint. So I kind of just grouped it all into marketing, but I wanted to split it up into two so you could kind of see how this works as a two-part chapter. So having a good, clean digital footprint is extremely important in the modeling industry. Now, obviously, we're dealing with fashion. We're making statements. We are out there. We're creative individuals. We're artists, right? So obviously, some people are going to, the definition of clean social media is going to be different for all of us. And there is wiggle room, okay? There is wiggle room. I'm not saying that you have to go out there and delete every part of your own personal personality, but you need to make sure you're doing a few things and being safe online, obviously, and having a digital footprint, and think about the brands that you want to hire you and if you are hireable online, okay? So having an unproblematic social profile, or if you do have problematic social profiles, that they are either erased or set to private. So you guys know what this means. Racy stuff, like racy images, saying racial slurs, just being explicit in general, anything like that, right? Anything that's not like having explicit links on there, anything like that. You guys already know this because you guys learn about this in school, okay? So no trace of a bad past. So if you've made mistakes before, that's okay. Everyone has, but make sure you're going back and getting rid of that stuff and making sure that it's not connected to your name anymore. So if you've said some stuff on Twitter before, you go back and either erase that profile or erase those tweets or whatever it is. So that way it's not connected to you. Agencies aren't going to want to hire someone who has a problematic stuff attached to them, as well as other brands aren't going to want to either. Make sure that if you're sharing politically charged posts, that you're doing so responsibly. No one's saying that you cannot share your voice and be heard on social media. That's what it's for. And no one says you can't air out your personal political ideals or beliefs. Just make sure you're doing so responsibly without bullying others. And make sure you're not posting anything that's damaging to your reputation. All of this is common sense, but it needs to be reminded. So that way you're thinking when you're posting, and just overall being hireable digitally. So thinking of it as a package deal like that. If someone went through every single one of your social profiles, whether you're friends or not, whether it's private or not, would they want to hire you? Now, most people are, laid back and can look past a few mistakes or look past a few different things. But making sure that it's overall clean and desirable for brands, okay? And the last, I think that's the last one, maybe second to last, I don't remember, is preparation. So again, this is just one that I'm gonna kind of go over because every model needs to prepare for things differently. But this is one I'm just going to, what time is it? Okay, sorry. I'm on a time crunch right now. This is something that every model does differently and can prepare differently. So I kind of am just going through how to be a better preparer in life, okay? So, and how you can be more prepared as a model. So every model, like I said, is going to take different paths to get here. So that's why it's kind of just like a general thing versus like communication, how you can better communicate. So being elite in a competitive business and industry, being prepared and leveling up in all aspects is going to get you very far. Making sure that you're prepared for any scenario, for things to go wrong, things like that. Being just prepared in general for life to run its course, everything like that, right? And being prepared to be in a very competitive industry. And just having that mindset already is already going to level you up. But you need to be elite in this industry. You can't slack off. You can't, You can't just ride the wave. You have to hustle and you have to be elite. Taking classes that can help you professionally. So whether this be modeling classes or communication classes or getting a further education or anything like that, actually studying and trying to learn skills that help you professionally is very, very important in terms of preparation. Having a backup plan, of course, is very important in preparation, whether that be having a photo shoot buddy, having already mapped out your route, having a backup plan outfit, having a backup plan if weather is bad, whatever it is, right? Taking time and energy into your jobs and performances, this is really important, is just preparing for your photo shoot, whether that be mentally, whether that be physically doing a self-care routine, whether that be sitting in front of the mirror and posing beforehand, whatever it is, taking time and energy and putting that into your job or performance or appointment, whatever it is going to help you feel 10 times more prepared, and it will set you apart from the rest of the rest of models or crew members. Make sure you're training on new topics. Make sure you're leveling up, right? If you need to learn how to walk in runway, make sure you're learning how to walk in runway. Don't wait for someone else to show you the way. Make sure you are taking it into your own hands and training yourself on these topics. If you need to learn a new language because you're going to a new country, then make sure you do that. If you need to learn anything, if you need to learn public speaking, make sure you're doing that. Don't wait for the opportunity to come by yourself. Be prepared and be ahead of the curve. Self-help is great. This is a great place to mention self-help, is developing yourself in your personal life, right? And becoming a better person, working through your traumas, working through your insecurities, anything like that, whatever it is, can help you feel more prepared in this industry and in your life and help you become an overall better and more professional person and model. And lastly is leveling up your portfolio. So making sure to prepare yourself for new things and then doing them, you know? Don't just stick to the old ways, you know? Does that make sense? Okay. Now that we've gone through those 6 categories, communication, organization, poise, networking, marketing, and preparation, and now you have a kind of better understanding, of how you can better develop yourself professionally. I have hiccups. Let's go ahead and go through 2 scenarios of a model that was less professional and didn't have as developed skills as the second scenario. Even though the photo shoot wasn't horrible, she didn't get rehired because of these little things. And they all come down to these this list that we went through. Okay, so scenario number 1. I'm going to be reading from my paper, and it kind of goes as these little icons. It starts at the top left and goes to the first row, second row, third row, just like you're reading a book, okay? So I'm going to read it, and I'm just kind of mentioning some things that were unprofessional and could have went better, and you'll see in the second scenario if the model had done or had these better skills, okay? So model was only 5 minutes late due to some traffic, okay? So we're already starting out. It's only 5 minutes late. Everyone can look past that, right? Due to traffic. Everyone gets stuck in traffic, right? Okay. Model remembered to bring their Converse for the shoot, but didn't realize how dirty they were when they got there. Then the model needed makeup touch-ups after being late. So we're cutting more into the photo shoot, okay? So we're not as prepared as we should have been. We're late. And now we need makeup touch-ups. Only should take a few minutes, but still, right? All of these things are things that most people are willing to look past. But when you start adding them up, it starts to go downhill, right? So once the shoot started, the model started to feel a little bit awkward in front of the camera. That's fine. And the photographer had to walk her through poses. So the model was unprepared and felt a little bit awkward. The photographer ended up helping her out. That's fine. Then after that, once they got shooting, the fashion designer showed up on set, and the director of the set called for a 10-minute break since the fashion designer was there. While the fashion designer was there, the model decided on her 10-minute break to sit down and Snapchat friends while the designer talked to the rest of the staff. After resuming the shoot, the photographer showed the model some sneak peeks, and then the model complained about looking fat. Once the model starts finishing out the shoot, she starts to feel confident, right? They put on some music and she's really feeling herself. But she starts to get distracted by some of the more explicit songs and periodically dances like she would in a club. Okay? A little unprofessional. Dancing, totally okay. But a little unprofessional, right? We got some twerking going on. We're trying to shoot for these Converse. It's just not working, okay? After the shoot is done, the model asks a photographer to take a picture of her on set for Instagram. The model was the first to leave. She thanked everyone on the way out and waved goodbye. A few months down the line, the model reposts images and she tagged the designer and the photographer. And then about a few months later, so it's about 6 months after the shoot, the model, let me go back. Okay, so the editorial ended up being featured in a magazine. A few months later, the model finally reposts the images and tags the designer and the photographer. A few months after that, so about 6 months after the shoot, the model texts the photographer asking him to resend the album again 6 months later. And after that, everything was said and done. It went great, right? They got all the shots they needed. The editorial was featured in a magazine, and the model continued to apply to gigs with this designer, but was never contacted again. Now, even though the shoot was successful and they got everything they needed and wanted, and it was great, the model's behavior on set could have gone a lot differently and could have done a lot better. And so because of her performance on set, they were able to find someone who was more professional and had a better skill set for the next gigs, right? Even though it was okay, right? So now that we've walked through that scenario, think about some things that could have went better in that scenario. And I'm going to show you scenario 2, which is the scenario in which the model has great professional skills. Even though there's the same hiccups in the shoot, she was more professional and was hired again later down the road. Okay, so scenario number 2. The model arrived 20 minutes early because she had already mapped out the route the day before and she saw signs for upcoming road work. So she knew she needed to leave early and she was able to arrive 20 minutes early because she had mapped out her route previous. She brought the Converse she needed to for the shoot, but she didn't realize how dirty they were until the morning of, so she brought extra pairs of shoes that also fit the theme as well. The model had plenty of time for makeup touch-ups because she arrived 20 minutes early and she thanked the makeup artist. The model was feeling a little bit nervous. Sorry, everyone's texting me now, of course. The model was feeling a little nervous, so she asked the photographer to show her some poses that they had in mind so she could warm up. So instead of just hoping that the photographer walks you through it or a scenario like that, she actually asked the photographer for some poses that they had in mind. So not only are you valuing the photographer's opinion and ideas, but you're also communicating that you're nervous and that you would like to warm up just a little bit. And if you could just have a little bit of help with that. So we're off to a great start. She was early. She brought the Converse. They were a little dirty and that could have been planned a little bit better. It was a hiccup, but she brought extra pairs of shoes that fit the theme. She had plenty of time for makeup touch-ups. She was still nervous. That's another hiccup, but she was able to communicate and work her way through that. The fashion designer shows up on set and the director calls for a 10-minute break. During the break, the model introduced themselves to the designer and all of the other collaborators on set, explaining how excited and honored she was and handed out her agency business cards. She took that time to network instead of taking a break and sitting on her phone. Again, sitting on your phone and taking a break isn't a bad thing, but you could have done better in that scenario by networking and taking that opportunity to network. After resuming the shoot, the photographer showed her some sneak peeks, and the model thanked the photographer and asked for some critiques since she was feeling a little bit insecure. So instead of just complaining about how fat you look, you actually ask the photographer for any critiques they may have. And if they tell you, no, I'm loving what you're doing, this is perfect, then you can just continue on with what you're doing, because guess what? Insecurities come from within, not from outside, especially when you're on a photo shoot. Also, for the photographer to show you sneak peeks, that is something that they don't need to do. That's something that they're doing out of the kindness of their heart. So thanking them is very important. Then the model finishes out the shoot. She started to feel confident listening to some appropriate music, and she periodically danced while posing, and she was having a ton of fun. She made everyone smile with her funny dance moves and dance poses, and the crew loosened up, realizing that they are getting all the shots that they need to, and the hard work is almost over. After the shoot, the model asked to get a group picture of everyone for socials so everyone can share it and tag each other. She included everyone in the set image instead of just getting a picture of herself, and felt included, and that is a really great way of networking online and on social media. After that, the model thanked each crew member and asked if she can help clean up before leaving. Then the model reposts all the images, thanking everyone again and tagging everyone who's involved, not just the photographer and the designer. The editorial was featured in a magazine, so she tagged the magazine, the designer, the photographer, the crew members, the wardrobe, hair and makeup, everyone, right? And because of her performance on set, she was rehired the next time a job was posted for the same exact designer. Now, if we compare the two scenarios together, model was 5 minutes late, that's not a big deal. But a model being 20 minutes early because she already mapped out the route, way better. Bringing in the Converse, awesome, we're prepared. Not realizing how dirty they are, not super prepared, but bring some extra shoes, it's okay. If it's too late, we just gotta adapt and overcome. Have a backup plan, right? We had plenty of time for makeup touch-ups. If you're coming to set with makeup, prepare to have a makeup touch-up and don't sit there on set and wasting everyone else's time doing your makeup. Make sure you come prepared. Feeling awkward is something that's totally normal. Communicate and ask for some poses to warm up and value what the person directing has in mind. That makes a very comfortable environment for everyone. When the fashion designer shows up and calls for a 10-minute break, take that 10-minute break. If you need to, relieve yourself or get a snack, of course, but try to use that time to network and talk to people, hand out an agency business card, or talk about how excited and honored you are to be there. Once you guys resume the shoot, and if a photographer shows you sneak peeks, always thank them, no matter how you feel or look in the photo, because they are doing something that's not part of their job. They're doing something for you. Showing sneak peeks is something that photographers do for models or for clients so they can see what's going on and feel better prepared when they keep resuming, right? If you don't feel comfortable in the photos, if you don't feel secure in the photos, if you don't feel confident, ask for some critiques. Ask if there's a way that you could pose a little bit better, or say, I feel like this pose that I didn't highlight or accentuate my curves in the way that I wanted them to, or how can you help me, or what tip could you give me to elongate my legs a little bit better so I can retry this pose, anything like that, and communicate that to the photographer so they know you care about what's going on and you can be a better model. If there's music playing, that's great. If you want to dance and have fun, that's fine. We're not sitting here being uptight. Okay, we're having fun. Just make sure it's appropriate and make sure we're not taking away from the job. We can have fun on the job. That's why we chose a creative field, right? After the shoot, make sure that if you're going to take pictures, that you're not going to just take pictures of yourself. Try to get a group photo. It's way better for the socials, it's way better for engagement, and it's going to help you grow as well. And it's also going to help show that you care. Let's see. Okay, before leaving, make sure to thank every single person involved. This is super important. Also, always ask if you can help. If you can, if you're not on a time crunch, if you're not exhausted, because you probably are, but remember that everyone else on set is also exhausted. So even if that just means, hey, can I grab you water or anything, it will put you so much farther than just leaving, being the first one to leave, right? Make sure that when you repost your images, you tag everyone involved and you thank everyone and you acknowledge everyone's hard work and everything like that. And lastly, if you need to have a photographer resend photos, don't ask 6 months later. Make sure that you save that you link it somewhere. And if you do, don't text them, send them a professional email. And lastly, I think that's it. And that's why, scenario 2 was rehired. Even though scenario 1 wasn't a train wreck, she wasn't as professional as we need in the modeling industry. Okay. Now that we went through our scenarios and we learned about these professional skills, I hope that this training has helped you and will help you to strengthen your professional skills that you need as a model. If you have any questions for me, or if you would like additional resources, or if you would like me to suggest some different, YouTube videos or courses online on any of these topics, please let me know. And I will see you guys next week for another training. Bye.